Good evening, everybody. As promised, this morning Papa Bear is back. I have maybe even a couple of hours to stream tonight. And I am going to resume reading the complete works of Emily Dickinson. Tonight it's been, I think, more than a week since I had my little vacation this past weekend. I couldn't stream, so it's been a while. But I still have my place marked here where I left off. I left off with a poem called Escape. So we will pick up from there. It looks like we're about a third of the way through, roughly. Maybe a quarter, give or take. That camera tracking looks a little off to me. My head's going up too high. Let's see here. Oops, don't do that. Don't do that. Let's try. That's a little better. Okay. Okay. Without further ado, then, I will just jump right into it. The next poem is called Compensation. For each ecstatic instant, we must an anguish pay in keen and quivering ratio to the ecstasy. For each beloved hour, sharp pittances of years, bitter contested farthings, and coffers heaped with tears. Okay, that feels a little loud to me, so I'm gonna dial down the gain on my mic just a little bit. I think maybe 6 decibels ought to do it. Nope, that's a little too much. Let's try 3.6 decibels. Sure, that seems pretty good. Alrighty. Next poem is called The Martyrs. Through the straight paths of suffering, the martyrs even trod, their feet upon temptation, their faces upon God. A stately shriven company, convulsion playing around, harmless as streaks of meteor upon a planet's bound. Their faith, the everlasting troth, their expectation fair, the needle to the north degree, weighed so through polar air. Okay, sorry, I need to make some additional adjustments to my gain here. That's just maybe good for you all, but too loud in my ears. How about that? I think that's probably good, yeah. That's much better. Okay, that was The Martyrs by Emily Dickinson. The next poem is called A Prayer. Ooh, excuse me. Let me now aim the mic. I'm having all sorts of equipment issues this evening. That's what I get for taking a break. Aim that microphone a little bit down. And this one too. And then maybe I won't burst your eardrums that way again. I don't like to have a pop filter on for ASMR because some of those plosive sounds are actually very nice, I think, for ASMR. And also with a pop filter I couldn't do that, which I really like. Nor could I do this. Nor could I do this. And I really like all of those things, so no pop filters. Instead, I just aim the microphone so that it doesn't get the full force of my exhalations. Where was I? Papa Bear is a little scatterbrained tonight. I had a long day of work, as is typical for Papa Bear. And sometimes that leaves me a little scatterbrained, streaming on the nights when I have the house to myself. Helps me to center myself again, I guess. Especially if I'm doing triggers that require breathing control like that. It's a very good way to calm down, controlling your breathing. I also like watching that tree in the background on my screen, swaying in the breeze as I stream. I'd like to live near a field like that, with a tree like that. And heck, why not a sky like that? Never seen a sky quite like that. Although I've seen some pretty strange skies at sunset and sunrise. But I've never seen a moon like that, if that's supposed to be a moon. I guess it is. That would be quite an amazing moon. But that's really the whole point of VTubing, isn't it? That you can put yourself in a slightly fantastical setting like this and just relax a bit. Alrighty, let's get back to Emily Dickinson. She's waiting for us very patiently. This next poem is called A Prayer. I meant to have but modest needs, such as content and heaven. Within my income these could lie, and life I could keep even. But since the last included both, it would suffice my prayer, but just for one to stipulate, and grace would grant the pair. And so upon this wise I prayed, Great Spirit, give to me a heaven not so large as yours, but large enough for me. A smile suffused Jehovah's face. The cherubim withdrew. Grave saints stole out to look at me and showed their dimples too. I left the place with all my might, my prayer away I threw. The quiet ages picked it up, and judgment twinkled too. That one so honest be extant as take the tale for true, that whatsoever you shall ask, itself be given you. But I, grown shrewder, scan the skies with a suspicious air, as children swindled for the first, all swindlers be infer. Such an unusual poem. Very much the style of Emily Dickinson. This next poem is a very short one, and it is untitled, as are many of her poems. The thought beneath so slight a film is more distinctly seen, as laces just reveal the surge, or mists the Apennine. The next poem, slightly longer, is also untitled. The soul unto itself is an imperial friend, or the most agonizing spy an enemy could send. Secure against its own, no treason it can fear. Itself, its sovereign of itself, the soul should stand in awe. Excuse me while I hydrate a bit. Alrighty. The next poem, also untitled. Surgeons must be very careful when they take the knife. Underneath their fine incisions stirs the culprit, life. Excuse me, I'm just rearranging my windows a little bit. Okay, the next poem is called The Railway Train. I like to see it lap the miles and lick the valleys up, and stop to feed itself at tanks, and then prodigious step. Excuse me, sorry, I just had a little bit of an audio glitch there. Okay, I'll start again. The railway train. I like to see it lap the miles and lick the valleys up and stop to feed itself at tanks and then prodigious step around a pile of mountains and supercilious pier in shanties by the sides of roads, and then a quarry pair to fit its sides and crawl between, complaining all the while in horrid hooting stanza, then chase itself down the hill. And neigh like Bonerges, then punctual as a star, stop, docile and omnipotent, at its own stable door. I have to say I didn't like that one very much. I didn't like the sound of it, I guess. Maybe I just didn't read it very well. That's pretty likely, actually, come to think of it, that I did not read it very well. But I am but a bear with a tiny little bear brain, so you'll have to forgive me. Sorry, that was a bit loud. Speaking of breath control, I didn't do a great job there. That was better. I feel like I'm starting to settle in a bit. How about you? Okay. Moving on. The next poem is called The Show. The show is not the show, but they that go. Menagerie to me, my neighbor be. Fair play, both went to see. Whatever that means. The next poem is untitled. The next several are untitled. Delight becomes pictorial when viewed through pain, more fair because impossible that any gain. The mountain at a given distance in amber lies. Approached, the amber flits a little, and that's the skies. A thought went up my mind today that I have had before, but did not finish some way back. I could not fix the year, nor where it went, nor why it came the second time to me, nor definitely what it was have I the art to say. But somewhere in my soul I know I've met the thing before. It just reminded me 'twas all, and came my way no more. I like that one a lot, actually. That one's quite cool. Cool, you know, in the way old poetry is cool. Not in the way Beyonce is cool. going to read it again. A thought went up my mind today that I have had before, but did not finish some way back. I could not fix the year, nor where it went, nor why it came the second time to me, nor definitely what it was, have I the art to say. But somewhere in my soul I know I've met the thing before. It just reminded me 'twas all, and came my way no more. Papa Bear seal of approval. It's a fun little poem. Is heaven a physician? They say that he can heal, but medicine posthumous is unavailable. Is heaven an exchequer? They speak of what we owe, but that negotiation I'm not a party to. This next poem, refreshingly, has a title. It is called The Return. Though I get home how late, so I get home 'twill compensate. Better will be the ecstasy that they have done expecting me. When night descending dumb and dark, they hear my unexpected knock. Transporting must the moment be, brewed from decades of agony. To think just how the fire will burn, just how the long cheated eyes will turn, to wonder what myself will say, and what itself will say to me, beguiles the centuries of way. This next poem is untitled. A poor torn heart, a tattered heart that sat it down to rest, nor noticed the ebbing day flowed silver to the west, nor noticed night did soft descend, nor constellation burn, intent upon the vision of latitudes unknown. The angels happening that way, this dusty heart espied, tenderly took it up from toil and carried it to God. There, sandals for the barefoot, there, gathered from the gales, do the blue havens by the hand lead the wandering sails. That poem has a very nice sound to it, but I don't really have any idea what it means. The next poem is called Too Much. I should have been too glad, I see, too lifted for the scant degree of life's penurious round. My little circuit would have shamed this new circumference, have blamed the homelier time behind. I should have been too saved, I see, too rescued, fear too dim to me, that I could spell the prayer I knew so perfect yesterday, that scalding one, Sabachthani, recited fluent here. Earth would have been too much, I see, and heaven not enough for me. I should have had the joy without the fear to justify, the psalm without the Calvary, so Savior crucify. Defeat whet's victory, they say, the reefs in old Gethsemane endear the shore beyond. 'Tis beggars' banquets best define, 'tis thirsting vitalizes wine, faith faints to understand. That was Too Much by Emily Dickinson. Next up we have Shipwreck. It tossed and tossed, a little brig I knew, o'ertook by blast it spun and groped delirious for morn. It slipped and slipped as one that drunken stepped, its white foot tripped, then dropped from sight. Ah, brig, good night to crew and you, the ocean's heart too smooth, too blue, to break for you. Let's take a little trigger break, shall we? Alrighty. Helps to catch my breath every now and then. Where were we? Yes, we just read Shipwreck. The next poem is Untitled. Victory comes late and is held low to freezing lips, too wrapped with frost to take it. How sweet it would have tasted just a drop. Was God so economical? His tables spread too high for us, unless we dine on tiptoe. Crumbs fit such little mouths, cherries suit robins. The eagle's golden breakfast strangles them. God keeps his oath to sparrows who of little love know how to starve. Ooh, that's quite an angry poem, it seems to me. Unusually angry for Emily Dickinson. She must have been having a bad day. Okay. The next poem is called Enough. Seems like it might be a related poem. God gave a loaf to every bird, but just a crumb to me. I dare not eat it, though I starve. My poignant luxury to own it, touch it, prove the feat that made the pellet mine. Too happy in my sparrow chance for ampler coveting. It might be famine all around, I could not miss an ear. Such plenty smiles upon my board, my garner shows so fair. I wonder how the rich may feel. An Indaman, an earl, I deem that I, with but a crumb, am sovereign of them all. Now that's interesting. I just got a shout out from a person whose stream I am not in. I wonder if she's lurking in my stream quietly. She would be free to say hi if that's the case. I'll give her a shout out. Why not? There we go. I would encourage everyone to go attend her stream if she's streaming right now. She's really much better than I am. She is streaming. Yeah, you should not be listening to me. You should be listening to her. Okay. I'll keep going though. Experiment to me is every one I meet, if it contain a kernel, the figure of a nut, presents upon a tree, equally plausibly, but meat within is requisite to squirrels and to me. That was an untitled poem by Emily Dickinson. The next poem is called My Country's Wardrobe. My country need not change her gown, her triple suit as sweet as when 'twas cut at Lexington and first pronounced a fit. Great Britain disproves the stars, disparagement discreet. There's something in their attitude that taunts her bayonet. Ooh, that was Emily giving the UK a smackdown. That's a smackdown 19th century style right there. Emily Dickinson, of course, one of the founders of the American style of poetry. An American poet at a time when America did not have what recognized poets. And in fact, Emily Dickinson herself was not recognized as a poet during her lifetime. The next poem is untitled, as many of hers are. Faith is a fine invention for gentlemen who see. but microscopes are prudent in an emergency. The next poem is also untitled. Except the heaven had come so near, so seemed to choose my door, the distance would not haunt me so, I had not hoped before. But just to hear the grace depart, I never thought to see, afflicts me with a double loss. 'Tis lost and lost to me. Portraits are to daily faces as an evening west to a fine pedantic sunshine in a satin vest. The next poem is called The Duel. I took my power in my hand and went against the world. 'Twas not so much as David had, but I was twice as bold. I aimed my pebble, but myself was all the one that fell. Was it Goliath was too large, or only I too small? A shady friend for torrid days is easier to find than one of higher temperature for frigid hour of mind. The vein a little to the east scares muslin souls away. If broadcloth breasts are firmer than those of organdie, who is to blame, the weaver? Ah, the bewildering thread, the tapestries of paradise so notelessly are made. I have no idea what that poem is about. I find myself in that situation with her poems quite often. Just really no idea. The next poem is called The Goal. Each life converges to some center, expressed or still, exists in every human nature, a goal. Admittedly scarcely to itself it may be, too fair for credibility's temerity to dare, adored with caution as a brittle heaven to reach, were hopeless as the rainbow's raiment to touch. Yet persevered toward, surer for the distance, how high unto the saint's slow diligence the sky. Ungained it may be by a life's low venture, but then eternity enables the endeavoring again. I feel like I read that one very badly. It has a very strange structure. The next poem is called Sight. Before I got my eye put out, I liked as well to see as other creatures that have eyes and know no other way. But were it told to me today that I might have the sky For mine, I tell you that my heart would split for size of me. The meadow's mine, the mountain's mine, all forests, stintless stars, as much of noon as I could take between my finite eyes. The motions of the dipping birds, the lightning's jointed road, for mine to look at when I liked, the news would strike me dead. So safer guess with just my soul upon the window pane, where other creatures put their eyes, incautious of the sun. I really liked the middle of it, and I didn't really like the beginning and the ending stanzas. They didn't sound good, but the middle sounded good. Okay, the next poem is untitled. Hello, Rage, how are you? Welcome to Papa Bear's Den. I'm glad you could be here. I am reading the complete works of Emily Dickinson. She wrote a lot of poems, so it's taking a while. Alrighty. The next, I forgot. I have an animation for this. Hello. I can wave. I can eat honey too. Okay. The next poem is called The Preacher. He preached upon breadth till it argued him narrow. The broad are too broad to define, and of truth until it proclaimed him a liar. The truth never flaunted a sign. Simplicity fled from his counterfeit presence, as gold the pyrites would shun. What confusion would cover the innocent Jesus to meet so enabled a man? Good night, which put the candle out. A jealous zephyr, not a doubt. Ah, friend, you little knew how long at that celestial wick the angels labored diligent, extinguished now for you. It might have been the lighthouse spark, some sailor rowing in the dark had importuned to see. It might have been the waning lamp that lit the drummer from the camp to purer reveille. That was an untitled poem. And the next poem is also untitled. When I hoped, I feared. Since I hoped, I dared. Everywhere alone as a church remain. Spectre cannot harm, serpent cannot charm. He deposes doom who hath suffered him. I especially with a poem like that that's a bit indecipherable. I wish that it had a title to give me some hint. But the interesting thing is, most of these poems from Emily Dickinson were written in letters to her acquaintances, friends, and family. They weren't really meant to be published. And so they are taken out of context. And maybe in context, this made sense to whomever she was writing to. But it doesn't make any sense to me. And there's no title to give me a hint of what it's about. Anyway, it's poetry. Who cares what it's about? The next poem is called Deed. A deed knocks first at thought, and then it knocks at will. That is the manufacturing spot, and will at home and well. It then goes out an act, or is entombed so still, that only to the ear of God its doom is audible. The next poem is called Time's Lesson. Mine enemy is growing old. I have at last revenge. The palate of the hate departs, if any would avenge. Let him be quick, the viand flits. It is a fated meat. Anger as soon as fed is dead. 'Tis starving makes it fat. Remorse. Remorse is memory awake, her company's astir, a presence of departed acts at window and at door. Its past set down before the soul and lighted with a match, perusal to facilitate of its condensed dispatch. Remorse is cureless, the disease not even God can heal. For 'tis his institution, the complement of hell. Next up is The Shelter. The body grows outside the more convenient way, that if the spirit like to hide, its temple stands alway. Ajar, secure, inviting, it never did betray the soul that asked its shelter in timid honesty. Undue significance a starving man attaches to food. Far off he sighs, and therefore hopeless, and therefore good. Partaken, it relieves indeed, but proves us that spices fly in the receipt. It was the distance, was savory. I have to say, I really only like about half of her poems, and that is not one of them. Heart not so heavy as mine, wending late home as it passed my window, whistled itself a tune, a careless snatch, a ballad, a ditty of the street. Yet to my irritated ear an anodyne so sweet. It was as if a bobolink, sauntering this way, caroled and mused and caroled, then bubbled slow away. It was as if a chirping brook, upon a toilsome way, set bleeding feet to minuets, without the knowing why. Tomorrow night will come again, weary perhaps and sore. Ah, bugle by my window, I pray you stroll once more. We're in the middle of a very long stretch of untitled poems, so I'm just moving straight from one to the next. I many times thought peace had come when peace was far away. As wrecked men deem they sight the land at center of the sea, and struggle slacker but to prove as hopelessly as I. How many the fictitious shores before the harbor lie. Unto my books, so good to turn, far ends of tired days. It half endears the abstinence, and pain is missed in praise. As flavors cheer retarded guests with banquetings to be, so spices stimulate the time till my small library. It may be wilderness without, far feet of failing men, but holiday excludes the night, and it is bells within. I thank these kinsmen of the shelf, their countenances bland, enamor in perspective and satisfy, obtained. Excuse me, just had to hydrate there. Let's see, I've been crooning on for about an hour now almost, and my voice is feeling a little worn. I can do a few more, I think. This merit hath the worst it cannot be again, when faith hath taunted last, and thrown her furthest stone. The maimed may pause and breathe, and glance securely round. The deer invites no longer than it eludes the hound. The next poem is called Hunger. I had been hungry all the years, my noon had come to dine. I, trembling, drew the table near and touched the curious wine. 'Twas this on tables I had seen when turning, hungry, lone. I looked in windows for the wealth I could not hope to own. I did not know the ample bread, 'twas so unlike the crumb the birds and I had often shared in nature's dining room. The plenty hurt me, 'twas so new, myself felt ill and odd, as berry of a mountain bush transplanted to the road. Nor was I hungry, so I found that hunger was a way of persons outside windows the entering takes away. I think I like that one. Okay, now a couple more untitled poems. I gained it so by climbing slow, by catching at the twigs that grow between the bliss and me. It hung so high as well the sky attempt by strategy. I said I gained it, this was all. Look how I clutch it, lest it fall, and I a pauper go. Unfitted by an instant's grace for the contented beggar's face I wore an hour ago. To learn the transport by the pain, as blind men learn the sun, to die of thirst suspecting that brooks in meadows run, to stay the homesick feet upon a foreign shore, haunted by native lands the while and blue beloved air. This is the sovereign anguish, this the signal woe. These are the patient laureates whose voices trained below ascend in ceaseless carol, inaudible indeed to us, the duller scholars of the mysterious bard. I think I might like that one. I like the sound of it anyway. Okay. One last poem. I feel like I have it in me. This one is called Returning. Years had been from home, and now before the door I dared not open, lest a face I never saw before stare vacant into mine and ask my business there. My business, just a life I left, was such still dwelling there. I fumbled at my nerve, I scanned the windows near. The silence like an ocean rolled and broke against my ear. I laughed a wooden laugh that I could fear adore, who danger and the dead had faced but never quaked before. I fitted to the latch my hand with trembling care, lest back the awful door should spring and leave me standing there. I moved my fingers off as cautiously as glass, and held my ears and like a thief fled gasping from the house. Oh dear. I'm glad I decided to read that one. I like that one quite a bit. That's very unlike most of her poems. Yeah. That was a good, if somewhat creepy way to end a stream. Alrighty. I suppose I could raid, but I won't. I think I'll just end it there. Thank you very much for joining me for this installment in my series of poems where I'm reading the complete works of Emily Dickinson. It's taken me quite a while to get through them. Looks like I'm not yet halfway, but close to halfway through. And this is the 4th stream. So I probably have 4 or 5 more streams to go before I finish this task. So I wish you, whatever time it is for you, a good day, a good evening, a good night. I hope you carry this calmness and presence with you through your day or into your sleep. And I will be back. Oh goodness. I don't think I'll be able to do my regular Saturday stream this weekend, but perhaps Sunday, yes. I think I'll be able to stream on Sunday. Until then.